Welcome back. Welcome back to the Auto Authorities. My name is Jay and Gerald coming to you live. We have an amazing guest today. We're going to learn all about not just taxes, but tax credits, the truths, the myths. We're going to learn everything we possibly can, and we're going to make you a smarter consumer. Are you guys ready to do this?
Ready to go.
Let's
And
go.
he probably even hates taxes.
Have you ever felt like you were taken for a ride while buying, selling, or repairing your car? Well, not anymore. I'm Jay, and this is the podcast to tell you what to watch out for, whether you are buying, selling, or repairing your car. With over 26 years of automotive experience, we are the Auto Authorities. This podcast is sponsored by iAutoAgent.com. We're real estate agents for cars.
Yeah.
Back to the Auto Authorities. My name is Jay and Gerald coming to you live. If you are just joining us, we have an amazing guest today. We are going to learn all about tax myths, the truths, all the things that you ever wanted to know, and some really good golden nuggets on how to help you in your life, whether you're a business owner or whether you're an individual. But before we get going, I want to thank our sponsors, iAutoAgent. They are real estate agents for cars. They have two divisions. They help individuals sell their vehicles at no cost. They market, list, and show the vehicle. And then they also have on the business side, helping businesses with fleets sell those really tough to sell fleet vehicles and helping buy not only individual, but also fleet vehicles as well nationwide. And then we also have Gerald Bentley with Dealership Rescue and Wrestling with Sales. Gerald, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Hey, actually a little bit of news. The last week or so, the Wrestling With show is now airing on the Fired Up network as well on TV. You can find it on some of the streaming apps. It's also online. You can go to firedupnetworks.com, watch it live there. If you have Roku TV, it's on there soon coming to Pluto TV. It's a 24-hour sports channel, so get a little extra exposure and some great interviews. Right now on the network, they're playing an interview I did with Medusa. She's in the WWE Hall of Fame, New Japan wrestling legend, and she was a former monster truck champion too. So pretty interesting talk.
All right. Well, thank you, Gerald. And if you guys are just tuning in, we go live on the Facebook group page. If you want to just click join group, you can watch us live Tuesday at 12 p.m. Central Time. We are on YouTube, and boy, oh boy, has our YouTube channel really taken off. It is worldwide. You can go on YouTube, type in the Auto Authorities. You can click the notification button. You can click the subscribe button, and you can literally watch us every single week. And if you just don't want to watch us and you just want to listen to us, we are on 19 different channels worldwide. We are on iTunes, Pandora, Google Podcasts, you name it, we are on it. And what we want to do is we want to hear your feedback. And as we meet Bob Kluge here in just a few seconds, we want to hear the questions you have about taxes. He could answer anything. And truly, the reason why he's here is I've known Bob a really long time. He is an absolute expert, and really, I'm so excited to have him. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Bob Kluge, owner of Enterprise Accounting. And Bob, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, Jay, it's been a fun ride with you and working with you in your business. Enterprise Accounting is a unusual accounting firm, and that we work primarily with entrepreneurial individuals that own, in many cases, multiple businesses. We work with them not just on a compliance basis, but we work with them on an advisory basis. We want to understand what your goals for the business are, what the goals for your life are, and then help you work towards those and use the businesses as a tool to achieve what you want in life. So it's a bigger picture, more holistic type approach to working with you not just filling in those little pieces of paper to the government that keep them off your back. So we're going to be doing really well at that, but that's not the focus. The focus is helping you use your business to achieve your goals in life.
That is so awesome. And I've known Bob a long, long time. I want to really get into this because I have all these questions and I'm just going to fire them off to you. And I know Gerald does too. I want to talk a little bit because Gerald and I have been really, really digging into EVs, and there are tax credits out there. And we really want to understand the truths and the myths really about these EV credits. Are they for new vehicles? Are they for used vehicles? Like, how can people take advantage of these types of things?
Well, first of all, you have to remember that any tax credit is, in at best, is political sausage.
Uh-huh.
So there are things that they're doing to promote things, there are things they're doing for headlines, and then there are things they're doing to keep the cost to the government down. So, whenever we look at any of these credits, we got to look at all three of those components and be able to come back to it. So first of all, talking about new EVs, they updated this with the Inflation Reduction Act of 2021, where they basically came out and added a whole slew of new changes to EVs. So the new EVs are up to $7,500. They're for individuals purchasing electric vehicles that are brand new. They have to meet certain components to get the maximum credit. They have to have their materials sourced in the United States. They have to have a certain percentage of their assembly value generated in the United States, and they have to meet certain technical requirements. So the good news is the IRS has published a list, and we'll have the link for that in the show notes, of what these vehicles are and what you qualify for. But the challenge for it is, that's great. They're non-refundable credits, so you can't get the money back if you don't owe that much in taxes. So think of this as kind of a Goldilocks. You have to have enough money to buy an EV. You have to have enough tax liability to use up that. Oh, but then your income can't be too high because they phase the credits out.
Oh, really? Where's the income cap?
Depends on if you're a single or individual. So for an individual, it's $150. For a married couple, it's $300,000. So, that sounds like a lot of numbers, but if you're talking, two well-paid individuals on W-2s, they could be over that.
Sure.
Or especially if you're talking a business owner, it's very easy to get over that if you have a successful business, even though you may not be taking that amount of cash out. So it's kind of you got to watch the Goldilocks effect here. So you got to have enough money to go buy it. You got to have enough tax. So you got to be making enough money, but you can't be making too much money. You got to be kind of in the middle sweet spot there to really take advantage of the credit.
So it's not anything like a traditional manufacturer's rebate where you go in, Ford's offering $6,000 rebate. It's not that.
It's not that. Not at all in today's world. So it was a great political headline to say that we're going to, encourage people to go buy EVs, but it's a better headline in many cases in reality for a lot of people.
Now, does the customer get it at the time of the transaction?
Customer does not get it at the time of transaction because you have to have it as part of your tax return for the year you purchase it.
Okay.
It's not cash back that can be used to defer part of the purchase price. And I've not heard of any manufacturer or dealership yet that is offering to lend you the money till you get it back on your taxes.
Well, I do know there's a couple, one lender and a manufacturer, that because the EVs, the early adopters, I think, have already bought them, and they're not cheap cars.
No.
So you're looking at $800, $1,000, $1,200 car payments. Everybody's got them out now, but they don't have the mass production of the batteries to really crank them out, so they're still real expensive. Having trouble selling them. Toyota if you lease a BZ4X, there's a $7,500 lease cash, which is a factory rebate. So $7,500 off the top if you lease one. And
Yep.
US Bank, if you lease an EV through US Bank, so you have to go to a dealer that is a US Bank lender that does leases through US Bank. If you do that, US Bank is doing a $7,500 credit against the car. So just from the bank, they're just cutting it right there. So there
Well,
are
and
a couple of manufacturers that are leaning in on it, trying to, capitalize on the buzz and actually give an incentive that matches it.
that's interesting because that's obviously an incentive to do the lease because you don't qualify for these credits if you lease a vehicle. You have to own it.
Oh, that's a good golden nugget right there.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this. What about, my neighbor, he's really big into EVs and he has a Tesla. He has a 2013 Tesla, thinking about getting his wife a brand new Model Y. And he's sitting there talking about, like, he was thinking about going used, but this used tax credit, you have to be like, correct me if I'm wrong, it has to be under $25,000 as a used EV, and then you get a credit. And it's kind of like, well, how many EVs do you know that are under 25 grand other than what a Chevy Bolt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you've done your research well there, Jay. So on the used vehicle credit, and again, that was part of the change, in the last year, is if you buy for $25,000 or less, you can get 30% of the sales price up to $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
But, you guys would have a better idea of what the marketplace for used EVs are. And can you get anybody, can you find one for under $25,000?
No.
So,
Probably a Chevy Bolt. That's about it. Yeah, because
or a Nissan Leaf,
which wouldn't count probably. I doubt it's made in the U.S. It's made in Japan.
well,
But,
no, the used ones, they have a whole different set of rules.
Oh, okay.
So, it was that. But again, and then they take it, and your income has to be less than 150 if you're a joint couple, or 75 if you're individual. So, again, great PR, but I can't imagine how many people they're going to have that are actually going to get, a chance to, take this credit.
Well, and how many customers are going to get confused, because how many dealerships will our friend, the car salesperson here, Grady, be able to explain that properly? I don't think he's explaining it.
Well, I don't think they necessarily understand it to explain it.
No, nor will he try to understand it. He'll just go,
No, he'll
"Hey,
just say, hey, you get a credit for buying a used EV. That's great.
Let's
and
make a deal.
that's a challenge. And hey, give me $40,000 for this one.
Yeah, that's what's interesting is that, oh my gosh, I always say perception is not reality. That's one of my favorite lines because it really is, like, even these, like, not to get too off topic here, but you get a Carvana commercial. It's like, it makes it look so easy. And then you learn about Carvana. It's like, oh my God, I didn't realize it was started by a convicted ex-con. I didn't realize that. No, you don't realize that because you sit there and watch these pretty commercials and that's all you see, but you don't really know what's really behind it. It's very, very deceiving. And so people are like, oh, this sounds great. I can go get an EV and I can get a $4,000 credit. Yeah. Good luck on finding one. Good luck.
Well, and the other thing that you said, Bob, that really jumps out, because obviously they're not that 150,000 is low income, but the idea and the way they're wording it is, this is a credit for the everyday person. We want to help the working man and working man and woman, make sure they get this next generation of cars. But if I understood you right, somebody that's making, let's say a family that makes a combined $100,000, the standard deduction's been raised quite a bit now. The odds of that family owing $7,000 is virtually nothing. So they go and
It'd be
buy
very
the
hard for
EV,
them.
they're going to get nothing back, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that's where, even if they can afford it or choose to afford it,
Hmm.
they may not have the tax that's going to allow them to get that money and take the full value of it. So it's very much Goldilocks. You got to be in the middle of the range there to have the best effect for it. Not that you can't get, so great you're making $100,000, and I don't want to sound like that's terrible,
Yeah.
but you may only owe $3,000 or $4,000. Well, okay,
Hmm.
you save $3,000 or $4,000, but if you're planning on getting $7,500 back, you're
Not
going to be in
happening.
for a real shock at that point in time. But that's also where you can take and try and use other tax planning opportunities to generate more tax by doing things like you can convert part of your IRA to a Roth IRA and get your income up, pay a little bit more tax that you're going to be able to offset with this tax credit,
Hmm.
and now have a tax-free asset versus a tax-deferred asset. So, having good planning and knowing what you're going to be doing for a year is very important in capturing the full value of these credits.
Good point.
Very, very cool. In the few more minutes we have left here on this, and I actually have a lot more questions I want to ask you. Hopefully, I think we got to do a part 2 still on this because I got a lot. But if I'm, say, a W-2 employee, can I write off my car for business expenses?
No, that's the short answer. No, you can't.
So,
They took away that when they increased the standard deduction dramatically back, I want to say 10 years ago now. I don't remember which year they exactly did it. And they eliminated all those miscellaneous itemized deductions for W-2 employees. So unless you have a business with 1099 income or a separate individual business, you're not able to write off car mileage, regardless of whether you're actually using that car for business, whether you're running around for your employer doing all kinds of amazing business things, visiting clients, etc. You're not able to write that off. Now, the only good news about that is your employer can reimburse you and take the tax deduction for that reimbursement, and that reimbursement is tax-free to you. And currently, I believe for 2023, it's 62.5 cents per mile. So it would be a matter of negotiation with you and your employer to say, hey, I'm driving 500 miles a month for business, and that's $300 that you can reimburse me. You still get the deduction for it. You save the payroll taxes for it, and I don't have to pay income taxes on it, which makes it a win-win for both of us. So many, enlightened employers are perfectly comfortable with that, but there are some requirements that the employer has to meet, the employee has to meet in order to make that tax-free requirement.
in the last few minutes, Bob, I don't know about Gerald, but I have a ton more questions I want to ask you. I'd love to do a part 2, but for those that are listening right now, can you let everybody know how to get a hold of you and where to find your information?
Yeah, the best way is through email or through our website. So you can go to www.accountingstl.com, and then there's a contact me button there. Or you can contact our general office email, which is lockbox, LOCKBOX, at accountingstl.com. And we'd be happy to sit down and talk with you about your particular situation and see if we're the right fit to work with you, either we're on an individual basis or, ideally on an entrepreneurial business basis.
We're gonna put the link for your business in the show notes so people get a hold of you. And truly, for those of you that are listening right now, send your questions in, because there's probably questions that you can think of that we haven't asked, but I still have a whole list of questions to ask. So tune in next week. We're going to still be with Bob Kluge of Enterprise Accounting. He is just opening up just a world. Like, I can't even believe some of the stuff that he shared today. it's really making us more educated and smarter consumers. So thanks for being here, Bob, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Jay, and see you in a couple minutes for the episode 2.
Sounds good. Take care.